Let's talk about the Starbucks that's closing down in downtown San Francisco. That's not normal because Starbucks is usually one of those stores that never close. And if you look at downtown San Francisco, there's a lot of coffee shops, independent and chained. Some are smaller than Starbucks, some, are just mom and pop stores, but you get the idea. Cafes don't close, let alone Starbucks, who is like the titan of cafes. Downtown San Francisco has a lot of foot traffic, and those office workers making six figs walking around will definitely be willing to pay $5 to $6 for a latte. And if you go to like Manhattan, for example, or Seattle, Miami, downtown coffee shops like Starbucks, they don't close, right? They rarely ever close. In fact, they're expanding more rapidly than ever before. These are very popular stores that businessmen and high-paying officials and just everyday people all go to. So having a Starbucks close in a downtown location is pretty crazy. Like, I understand if Starbucks closes in like a middle of a highway or like a exit on an interstate, but in a downtown tech city, that's not normal. Starbucks is closing another one of its downtown San Francisco locations after shutting down 7 a month ago. The company fully confirmed this Wednesday, and Starbucks didn't really say a lot of things, but people all contribute this to like the intense amounts of shoplifting and car break-ins, which is causing a lot of Starbucks in the Bay Area to go into foreclosure or close altogether, because a lot of customers will not go to those locations because they park their car for like 2 minutes, go in, grab a coffee, come out, and like 3 windows are broken and everything's gone in their car. So that's why a lot of Starbucks and even grocery chains are simply shutting down. And Starbucks is no different. These are very powerful chains with great brand recognition. Even McDonald's in downtown San Francisco can't survive, let alone a mom and pop store, right? And look at this. 3 Bay Area Lucky supermarkets just closed in one day. These are pretty famous around the Bay Area. They sell pretty nice groceries at pretty low prices, and they're very popular with the locals. And Lucky Supermarkets definitely is experiencing some of the craziest and highest shoplifting incidences in all of the United States. This is not normal, okay? If you look at other cities around the world, first world cities, shoplifting is not as crazy as the Bay Area because the consequences of shoplifting here is basically non-existent. It's like a slap on the wrist. Oh, you shoplifted less than $900 of stuff? Well, that's just a misdemeanor, a slap on the wrist. Go to other countries like Singapore, you try to shoplift $900, I think that's like a few years of jail time. So you get the idea, right? The laws in San Francisco, they don't have to be that strict, but make it strict enough so at least it could deter some people from shoplifting, because many of these stores are just simply closing down. They can't make money. Sure, every store in the United States and around the world has some sort of shoplifting every single year, but as long as you're making more money than what's being shoplifted, you're good. But these stores, so many items being shoplifted, they just don't make any more money. They just simply close down. And that's just way how capitalism works. If everyone's stealing things, if everyone's just looting stores, everyone's shoplifting, well, stores like Lucky Supermarkets will close down. And these are very popular in Bay Area. Let me show you how popular they are because they're pretty numerous. They're basically everywhere, right? Lucky Supermarket, zoom out, and in just small little location like this, it's everywhere. Zoom out, there's even more. There's even some in San Jose. So these are very popular supermarkets in the Bay Area. Everyone knows them. But now even these Lucky Supermarkets are simply shutting down. They just can't compete with the crazy amounts of shoplifting. And then you come to here, okay, restaurants shut down every week on once booming San Francisco streets, which is Valencia Street. But a lot of stores are closing down due to drug use and, of course, vandalism. But more importantly, you also have a lot of crime, which is pretty much deterring a lot of people from even going to these places at night to eat. Not to mention, 150,000 office workers no longer come to San Francisco for work. So a lot of these restaurants are losing out on a crap ton of business. And this is a Mission District, and Valencia Street is one of these streets. And these are going to be the stores that are rarely ever empty. Like before the pandemic, if you go to Valencia Street or some of the more popular streets on the Mission, you have one, very high real estate prices. If you want to buy a condo here, good luck because it's going to cost you like $1 million and you're getting like a 1-bedroom. And you will never see an empty storefront because the moment there is an empty storefront, people fight over it tooth and nail. And the reason why is the foot traffic in these places are insane. Because after hours, after work, usually a lot of these office workers in downtown and also the Civic Center, they generally like to go to the Mission to have like good restaurants. They have good bars, jazz cafes, and many of these stores all have like insanely good reviews. and they're very hip, they're very cool, and people like them. And the ratings are actually pretty high. Look at the amount of reviews. People like to go to these places. The Mission is the thing to go for a lot of office workers. But with so many office workers gone, and also the crazy amount of crime, people are saying that restaurants are shutting down every week in the Mission and also Valencia Street, which is unheard of. And San Francisco, in its several decades of existence, it's went through several depressions and recessions, but this one's the worst of all. With so many employees moving online and many employees just not coming to San Francisco, you're seeing one of the biggest tech exoduses in the whole entire world, right? People talk about how a place like Hong Kong is getting a massive exodus of companies. Not really, right? Compared to San Francisco, it's pretty light. San Francisco's exodus is crazy. People cutting workers, people moving workers online, and people just straight up moving companies to nearby Las Vegas, which traditionally isn't even a tech company, a tech hub. Las Vegas is a gambling hub, but it's getting a lot of talent from San Francisco. Check this out. It's chaotic final days of San Francisco's shuttering Targets. San Francisco closing a lot of Targets and a lot of empty shelves in the final days. And it's kind of sad to see the situation unfold. Now, a lot of these big chain stores generally don't leave. Like, look around in your city. Do you see Starbucks, McDonald's, and Target closing? Not really. If you ask around, a lot of people say when big chain stores like these, like Whole Foods, Old Navy, Target, when these stores close down, it generally means like a declining city. Only declining cities have big chain stores closing down. Usually these stores have a lot of capital to stay afloat. Even there's like a massive recession, there's less consumerism, they could still keep afloat a lot of these stores. So when the economy comes back up again, people start shopping at these stores as well. Usually the first to go are the mom and pop stores, and rarely do the big chain stores ever close down unless that city has like a huge problem, which San Francisco has a huge problem in terms of shoplifting, which is a major turnoff. And speaking of shoplifting, you probably have noticed that the Westfield Mall is joining the massive retail exodus out of San Francisco. Westfield Mall is a famous brand to make luxury malls in major cities. They even have locations in places like Australia. So Westfield is saying that the San Francisco location has a vacancy rate of like 50%. And then when you look at Westfield and other locations, it never exceeds more than 8%. And the only time there's vacancies is when they're like transitioning stores. Or maybe there's like a store that's doing really bad and they close down and they're trying to find a new tenant. But generally, Westfield says that vacancies never go above 8%. So having 50% vacancies in San Francisco shows that it's not a corporate problem. It's more of a city problem than anything else. Even American Eagle is suing Westfield in San Francisco because of the insane amount of shoplifting. And I guarantee Westfield can't do anything. I mean, the cops can't do anything. Do you really think your security guards will? Probably not. So Westfield is kind of done. San Francisco just isn't really changing. What's even worse is everyone thought that after the APEC event, we're probably going to be seeing some major cleanups. People thought after this summit, a lot of these cleanups will be here to stay. But no, just a few days after the APEC summit, everyone left, and now the streets of San Francisco are back to the way they were, which is pretty disheartening, and it pretty much destroys any sort of optimism for the city. Everyone thought the cleanup was going to be here to stay because it did improve some businesses. People did like the streets being clean. But there really wasn't like a long-term solution either. The homeless and people who are addicted to drugs were apparently just shoved to other neighborhoods, which is not a great sight at all. So what do you guys see about this so far? Hopefully the city recovers, but as of right now, it seems like a very difficult thing to do.